Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. It's our Friday paranormal extravaganza, and I am here to entertain you once again. And thank you so much for being here. And I was over hanging out in Kev's Freaky Friday chat room, having a good time over there as I was getting ready for my own show. And great discussion. It was really cool that they were doing call-ins in the third hour. That was really great. It was great to hear from some of the listeners out there. And it's one of the things that I enjoy the most about our show here as well, is just getting a chance to talk to you guys and to hear what you're going through, what you're seeing, and what you've experienced. And I realized I didn't turn on the moon. So I got to turn on the moon because we need a moon. What color tonight? Ooh, that looks like a Halloween kind of moon, doesn't it? I like that. That'll be it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. The Halloween moon. So, welcome to the show. Hope you guys are doing great. Happy Friday. You've made it. You're in the weekend now. The weekend zone has commenced. I hope you have something strong and frothy. And as far as a beverage, I'm drinking water, but I got a job to do here, so I can't just sauce it up, too much. Don and I have done that a couple times. It's been kind of fun. We'll have to do that again, of course, because, it's always a good time, good laughs. Good to see everybody, though. I see all you guys piling into the chat room. I know a few of you are over on TFR. I got Lucky over there. Got Ken. Hey, you doing, Ken? And then Kenny K. How you doing, Kenny K? Poly Nation, good to see you. Bam, hello. Happy Users over there. Cautious Person is there. Intelligent Legend and the Wookiee was there, and then something just shifted. I don't know what the hell happened, but the names shuffled. I'm looking through. I think I got them all, but it's like the order changed quick. So anyway, welcome to the show, and I hope you guys are doing great. I thought I heard an echo, but I think it's just my room noise. I was playing around with the toys earlier. The minion thought this was really funny. So I wanted to make sure I didn't leave it on because you don't want me talking to you through a big tunnel. But anyway, welcome everybody. Hope things are good. It's a 2-hour show tonight. Of course, the phone call lines are always open. The number for the Paranormal Portal is 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. And a special thank you once again to the Freaky Friday crew. There was some mention during their show about doing some crossover episode, and I think that'd be fun, about having a 5-hour Friday full of woo with our shows combining. And I love that idea. So we've been doing quite a few crossover episodes with our wonderful friend Cade Moya from Australia. And Cade actually messaged me today, and I thought this was really amazing. And I really have him to thank for this, because he's really introduced us to a lot of audience down in Australia, and it's been amazing. Of course, we've had guys like Ken and Aussie Rockstar Fams as another listener, and there's a few others from the region there as well. And so it's not like nobody from Australia had heard of us, but ever since we've been doing crossover episodes with our friend Cade, I'm getting emails from people in Australia, and a lot of people are coming over to check out our YouTube and stuff from the podcast. And Kate sent me something today, And it was it was really cool. I was very, very humbled, and I don't mean to brag, but it's just one of those things. You do a show for a long time, and you put your blood, sweat, and tears into it, and you do your best to make it an incredible experience. And you hope that people will resonate with it. Well, it seems that I know people in the U.S. are, because our numbers are great, and you guys have always been amazing, and of course over in the U.K., people have always been incredibly supportive. But we recently, I'll read you what Cade said, and it was really really cool, because at first I wasn't really sure what he was talking about, but let me get everything set up so I can actually show you guys what it is that he was talking about. But I'm just getting this kind of set up. I'm a little slow here, so you have to forgive me, but. Cade messaged me and says, let me see, where is it? Where is it? Oh, I got to open the right message here. So he says to me, so Cade talks to me, and he said to me, he says, I love it when the old timers always do that. Sorry, I always get a kick out of that. He said, I got to get scrolled up. He said, you guys are charting like crazy over here. And I responded to him like, wow, that's only because of the fantastic promotions, brother. Thank you. And he says, and I said, but what does charting mean? Like, what number's charting? He said, like in iTunes, you are now regularly in the top 50 most popular podcasts for the science category in Australia. And I was like, wow. And then he sent me a screenshot of it. And this is the screenshot. And so there we are, ladies and gentlemen, number 48 of the top 100 iTunes shows in the science category. We use the natural science category for our podcast because there isn't really a paranormal category. So you got to kind of find one that might work. And that's the one we settled on. But we are number 48. So that was really cool. But my favorite part is that we're two we're two ahead of Bill Nye the Science Guy. Which is, I think, just awesome. But anyway, unless you're a Bill Nye fan and that offends you. But if you're offended, well, just continue being offended. Anyway, it's good news for us, and I just wanted to share that with all of you. And the reason I wanted to share it is not because I want to brag, but I wanted to thank you all. Because it's you guys out there that are making our notoriety pick up. And I can't thank you guys enough for all of your love and support and everything you've been doing to spread the word about the portal. We've never advertised with $1. We've not spent $1 advertising. Everything that we have grown and become has been completely grassroots and word of mouth. And, it doesn't hurt to have a friend like Chris Geo and Cherie Geo who put us on the network right away and made that part of it really easy. And we owe a hell of a lot of thanks to them and continue to for all of their love and support in helping the portal to grow. And it's been from a lot of different listeners and people out there, and in no small part of any of them, Wes Germer, and of course Tony Merkel has put the word out there about the show, but it's mostly been you guys out there that are doing it. So thank you all for helping to make the portal, put the portal on people's radar, because it just wouldn't have happened without you guys. You guys are amazing, and thank you so much. This is your community too. So just wanted to share that with you guys right off the bat. I just thought that was really cool. So it's we're moving, we're growing. So, but we beat Bill Nye, and that just is hilarious to me. I don't know if that's just for the week or how that works. I don't really understand a lot of this stuff, ladies and gentlemen. I'd love to tell you that I was all clued in on all these metrics and analytics, but I don't know a whole lot. I just try to bring you the best show I know how to bring you in. Sometimes that works out great, and other times it's a burning wreckage in the ditch. But we are having fun doing it either way. So, but great to see you all. So, who is in the YouTube? Let's see who's here in our YouTube audience. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening on TFR Live, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. If you want to see streaming of the portal, you can always do so by heading over to youtube.com/paranormal portal. We're streaming live every show that we do, except for the podcasts that you download. That's a different category altogether. But let's see who's here. So I got Alyssa Brittany. Hello, Alyssa. Beastly Broncos here. How you doing, Beastly? Beth is here. Big Rob is here. Hello, both of you. Blue Line Bigfoot. How you guys doing? Great to see you guys as well. Brown Dwarf, how you doing? Cameron F, hello. Claudia, hello, Claudia. Cryptids, Myths, and Mysteries with Lee McNew. Great to see you, Lee. Thanks for stopping in. Deb Varner is here, our lovely Deb, who is the Paranormal Portal Psychic. Donna Stokes, Gemini Moon, I Am Pam, JJ, Cade Moya is here. Hello to all of you, and thanks for sharing that with me today, Cade. That just made my day. I got on the phone and called like a few people, like, hey, check this out. It's kind of like maybe hearing your song on the radio for the first time, that kind of thing. So anyway, Christina Potter, how you doing, Christina? Linda, hello. Lisa Heilman, good to see you. Mary Brim is here. Old Spirit Art, that's cool. I don't recognize that name, but welcome to the show. Ken Rotman is in here, the Rotman. Tiffany Billieu, hi Tiffany, how are you doing? Way of Balance, good to see you, good to meet you. And of course, the Duke is in here, World Bigfoot Radio. So welcome everybody to the show. And this is the Paranormal Portal. But off to a good start anyway. Again, the call-in board is open, so if you got something you want to share as we're moving towards Halloween, everybody's got a spooky story. Come on now. So I want to hear from some of you guys. Tell me something that's happened, something you've experienced, something you've seen. I love that part of the show, and I'm kind of on the moon right now in a lot of ways, so I want to hear some stories. Tell me a story. It's like me being the child and you guys being the adult. Here's your chance to tell everybody a story. So call in and take part of the show. Again, 720-923-0500. That'll be great. And again, I'll try to figure out more from Mr. Kev Baker about when we're going to do that or when we can do that. But that would be a fun show for sure. So we'll see about putting that together. Let's see. What do I got first off the bat? I do have a bunch of stories, but actually I'm going to do a podcast with a bunch of these first because we've gotten a whole bunch of emails from truckers experiencing really scary, haunting, ghostly kind of events. Last time I read you one by Calvin, but I'm going to use that one on the podcast as well, but I don't want to give away the rest of them, so I'm going to keep those in my pocket for right now. But if you have a scary story of your own that you'd like to submit and don't really want to call in and be on the air, then you can certainly do so by emailing the show at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. Again, paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. Now, I just heard about a brand new, I don't know, it's brand new to me. I don't know if it's brand new. What the hell happened? Did I close that? What did I do? It looks like I might have closed my own chat. Hold on a second. Let me restore it and reopen it. I don't know where the hell it went, but I got to reopen it so I can keep an eye on what you guys are doing. Got to keep an eye on the candy store here. There we go. I think I fixed the chat before the show, too. Again, that URL keeps changing, so yeah, it looks like it's still working. Okay, good. But this new thing that I heard about is a brand new one to me, and it was actually pointed out by a listener whose name is Dawn. And I don't know if you guys have heard of this before, but it's called star jelly. Now, this is strange, and it's really small, tiny font, so let me blow this up. But I want to read to you what star jelly is. It's nothing I've ever heard of, but it's really bizarre. So it says star jelly, also called astromixin, astral jelly, powdered cere, star rot, or star shot, is a gelatinous substance sometimes found on grass or even on branches of trees. According to folklore, it is deposited on the earth during meteor showers. Star jelly is described as a translucent or grayish-white gelatin that tends to evaporate shortly after falling. Explanations have ranged from the materials being the remains of frogs, toads, or worms to the byproducts of cyanobacteria to the paranormal. And reports of the substance date back to the 14th century and have continued. Are you guys hearing that? Continued to the present day. You guys hear that hiss? Oh, there it goes. Now it's done. Now it's back. Oh, you know what? I think the missus is doing something out in the kitchen that makes a lot more noise than I'm used to. So, but it's continued to the present day. And so the examples of this are November 11th, 1846. A luminous object estimated at 4 feet in diameter fell, I don't know why the hell they use yellow font, at Lowville, New York, leaving behind a heap of foul-smelling luminous jelly. Oh, God. Luminous jelly that disappeared quickly, according to Scientific American. So that was in 1846. In 1950, it says 4 Philadelphia, Pennsylvania policemen reported the discovery of a domed disc of quivering jelly 6 feet in diameter, 1 foot thick, at the center of an inch or two near the edge. At the center of what? And an inch or two near the edge. And when they tried to pick it up, it dissolved into an odorless, sticky scum. This inspired the movie The Blob. I bet it did. On August 11th, 1979, Miss Sybil Christian of Frisco, Texas, reported the discovery of several purple blobs of goo on her front yard following the Perseid meteor shower. A follow-up investigation by reporters and an assistant director of the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History discovered a battery processing plant outside of town where caustic soda was used to clean impurities from the lead in the batteries, resulting in a purplish compound as a byproduct. The report was greeted with some skepticism. However, as the compounds at the reprocessing plant were solid, whereas the blobs on Mrs. Christian's lawn were gelatinous. Others, however, have pointed out that Mrs. Christian had tried to clear them of her lawn with a garden hose. Well, that's still a bit of a stretch to say that they're just something from the manufacturing. I'm highlighting this whole article because they use black font, but every once in a while they put these like yellow linked words, which sucks on a gray background. You can't read them. So in December 1983, grayish-white oily gelatin fell on North Reading, Massachusetts. Or maybe that's Reading. It's Reading in England, but it's Reading, I think, here. Thomas Grinley reported finding it on his lawn, on the streets and sidewalks, and dripping from gas station pumps. Well, that's gross. On several dates in 1984, gelatinous rain fell on Oakville, Washington, and the story is featured on a 1995 episode of Unsolved Mysteries. A National Geographic video called Mystery Goo Rain advances a conspiracy theory using an interview with microbiologist Mike McDowell, who says he tested the substance and speculated that it was a matrix containing Pseudomonas fluorescens and Enterobacteriobaceae. I don't know. I'm doing the best I can with that one. That's a whole lot of syllables altogether, so you can only expect so much from me. That could cause illness to those who touched it. In the video, McDowell claims that the sample went missing, and when he asked the management what had happened to it, he was told, "Do not ask," leading him to believe this material was manufactured by someone for some purpose, and that the town was chosen as a test site. Now, before you scoff at an idea like that, I would just like to say that on record, there are several instances showing governmental agencies doing just that, testing stuff on the populations of the U.S. And, for some reason, the stuff never hits the fan on those deals, and I don't know why. I guess there's a lot of power at play in those, but that's absolutely terrifying. In 1997, a similar substance fell in the Everett, Washington area. On the evening of November 3rd, 1996, a meteor was reported flashing across the sky of Kempton, Australia, just outside of Hobart. The next morning, white translucent slime was reportedly discovered on the lawns and sidewalks of the town. Star jelly was found on various Scottish hills in the autumn of 2009. Star jelly was found in the fells around Ullswater in the Lake District in October 2011. Blue balls of jelly rained down on a man's garden in Dorset in January 2012. Upon further analysis, these proved to be sodium polyacrylate granules, a kind of superabsorbent polymer with a variety of common, including agricultural uses. Was that like a diaper material, or what the hell is going on? They were most likely already present in the ground in their dehydrated state and had gone unnoticed until they soaked up water from the hail shower and consequently grew in size. Several deposits were discovered in the Hamwall Nature Reserve in England in February 2013, and it has been suggested that these are unfertilized frog spawn. But contrary to some reports, the substance has yet to be identified. Wow. So what is this crap raining down on people? There have been reports of It says PWDRSER, or whatever, Welsh for star rot. Pewderser or something. It stands for star rot anyway, for centuries. And John of Gaddensden, 1280 through 1361, for example, mentions Stella Terra, Latin for star of the earth or earth star, in his medical writings, describing it as a certain mucilaginous substance lying upon the earth, and suggesting it might be used to treat abscesses. This might be the same generation that drilled holes in the skulls to get evil spirits out, though, too. So I don't know if I'd be treating abscesses with some strange slime I found. A 14th century Latin medical glossary has an entry for uligo, Uligo, described as a certain fatty substance emitted from the earth that is commonly called a star which has fallen. Similarly, in the English Latin dictionary from around 1440, has an entry for stare slime, Slyme, with the Latin equivalent given as a sub, meaning, or as a rendering of Arabic ash shushub, also used in medieval Latin as a term for failing or shooting star. The Oxford English Dictionary lists the large number of other names for the substance, which references dating back to the circa 1440 English Latin Dictionary entry mentioned above: star fallen, star falling, star jelly, star shot, star slime, star slow, and star slubber, and star slutch. The slime mold, Intridirium, I don't even know what the hell to call the rest of it, but is called Caca de Luna. It says moon's excrement. No kidding. By the locals in the state of Venezuela in Mexico. Veracruz in Mexico. A long article of the paranormal magazine Fate declared star jelly to be of extraterrestrial origin, calling it cellular organic matter, which exists as pre-stellar molecular clouds which float through space. In the British book of Amphibians and Reptiles, page 138, author M. Smith explains that star jelly is most likely formed from the glands or the oviducts of frogs or toads, and birds and mammals will eat the animals, but not the oviducts, which then come into contact with moisture, swell, and distort, leaving a vast pile of jelly-like substance, sometimes also referred to as otter jelly. I don't know, very strange. In 1910, T. McKenna Hughes ruminated in Nature as to why meteors were associated with star jelly by poets and ancient writers, and observed that the jelly seemed to grow out from among the rocks and grass, or the roots and grass. Thomas Pennant in the 18th century believed the material to be something vomited by birds or animals. Nest rock, a type of freshwater blue-green algae, forms spherical colonies made of filaments of cells in a gelatinous sheath, and when on the ground it's ordinarily not seen, but after rainfall it swells up into a conspicuous jelly-like mass, which is sometimes called star jelly. The Massachusetts Department of Environmental Quality Engineering examined the star fall, which dropped on North Reading, but the only results were that the material was non-toxic. Well, that's comforting. Could it be some kind of genetic rewriter, though? You don't know what the hell this is. So one scientific explanation or speculation is pointed towards frog spawn, which has been vomited up by amphibian-eating creatures. I think we already talked about that. But no frog spawn has ever approached the size of some reported cases of star jelly. The German teens' terms star snot and meteorite jelly are known to refer to more or less digested frog spawn vomited by predators. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know what the hell it is, but I do recall, now that I've read this, hearing some weird reports about some jelly-like stuff falling from the sky. I think there was this one town where so many people got sick, and I can only remember it vaguely, but there was just an epidemic in this town following this jelly-like stuff falling everywhere all over this town. And it does make me wonder about the whole possibility of some kind of testing. But the curiosity is that it goes back so far. So is it, I mean, it's convenient to say it must be some kind of testing, but the fact that it goes back so far, at least some form of phenomena which seems to resemble this, I guess, maybe it's some naturally occurring thing that we just don't understand. And there again, our hubris says we understand everything. We got this all figured out, but we don't. We don't at all. We don't know what the hell we're doing most of the time, but we just got well-paid people to tell us that we do. So take it or leave it, but that's Star Jelly, ladies and gentlemen, and I just wanted to introduce you to that tonight. It doesn't sound like paranormal in the traditional sense at all, but it is odd, and it doesn't seem to be anything normal. So I guess it is paranormal in the traditional sense, but it's probably not out to get you in and of itself. It's not. It doesn't have an intelligence. It doesn't have, any kind of plan to, slime people that I can tell. It just kind of appears or falls, and then it dries up. But it does make you wonder what the hell it is. I don't like the idea of slime falling and nobody really knows what it is. That's creepy. Maybe it's ectoplasm. I'm just saying it could be. But thank you so much for sending that to me to bring to the rest of our listeners. I think that kind of stuff is really cool. I don't pretend to know what it is. I've not really heard of it, but there you have it. So I've got some a whole bunch of Bigfoot sighting stuff to go through tonight. A lot of them are really small, really short, but we're about to go to our first break already, so far be it for me to talk into the break, so I'm going to wait patiently until we're on the other side, ladies and gentlemen. But the phone lines are open if you want to be a part of tonight's show, 720-923-0500. So call in, and if you're on YouTube, just look above my head. You're going to see it up there under the words Paranormal Portal. That is the phone line. So come on in and keep me company. We'll talk to you soon.
Make it TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and you are watching the Paranormal Portal Friday show. 2 hours of paranormal fun and show. I don't know what else to say there. I kind of got stuck. But I just want to give a shout out to my cousin Paul and his wife Melissa. Are out there watching and listening, and so thank you guys. Love you. Hope everything's going wonderful, and thanks for tuning in and being a part of the show. Oh, thank you, Beastly Bronco. Awesome, brother. Thanks for that donation. That's really cool. I really, really appreciate it. That means a lot, brother. Thank you so much. That's really awesome. Oh, I love it. You guys spoil me. What can I say? But it's really helpful. It goes a long way because these shows are a lot of the times absolutely just a labor of love, and so it means a lot when you guys do that. It really has helped us a ton. But yeah, we're back to the show here. Again, the phone calls or the phone lines are open if you want to call in and be a part of the show. I'd love to hear from you guys. If you got some kind of spooky leading up to Halloween story that you want to share, I'd love to hear that, or anything paranormal indeed as always belongs here. Again, 720-923-0500. So call in. Become part of tonight's show and be immortalized on the archives of both TFR Live and YouTube. So, I mean, what's not to love, right? Don't be shy. Don't be intimidated. This is just me. I'm just here doing my thing. Hey, Doc Kayak, good to see you, brother. I didn't see you in there before, but I said hello. Hello, Gemini. Good to see you as well in the TFR chats. Anybody I missed in the YouTube? Hello, I see D Swaggers in there. Hello to you. A Dead Spider came in. Good to see you too, brother. Thanks so much. A.K.A. Rick. The Purple Hobbit is here. Good to see you, brother. But if I'm missing, Moog came in. Good deal. And no, nothing does get past me. So I'm a student of observation. What can I say? A student of observation because I watch things. That's what I do. I'm watching stuff here all the time. But I got some cool stories to get into here. What the hell is this? I pulled up something and I don't know what the hell I pulled up. But that's weird. This doesn't seem to have anything on it, but I pulled it up all the same because that's apparently how I roll here. But I got some kind of cool Bigfoot stories. These are pretty short. Most of these accounts are actually pretty quick and concise. I'll save the hot sheets for tomorrow when Don's here. Again, tomorrow Don will be with me here on the 2-hour Saturday show. And then it'll just get a whole lot more entertaining because Don brings a lot of entertainment to the portal. He entertains me all the time, but it's just what makes the portal work. So, all right. So these are Bigfoot experiences from all over the place, and I'm getting these from a site called Bigfoot Finder. It looks like, yeah. I've not heard of this site before, but I was surfing around, checking it out, and they got some really cool submissions from people that are experiencing something out there they believe to be a Bigfoot. So let's get into a few of these and see what's going on the Bigfoot Finder. And it's www, or no, I guess it's just bigfootfinder.com if you want to check it out for yourself. Looks like a pretty cool site. Again, I just kind of stumbled onto it myself. So let's see what they got to say. Apparently they get a lot of reports. And I wonder how that works because there's so many repositories. online for these Bigfoot sightings and experiences. There's the BFRO. There's sites like this. There's got to be at least 15 of them out there that are accepting submissions, and I wonder if that's a good thing or not. And I'm not critiquing this at all. I mean, people certainly can send in their encounters to whomever they like to share with, but I just wonder, how does that work, or should there be some more unified single place that all these places could submit to as well, just as far as a scientific repository, because the more people report, the more the people share about their experiences, the more I think that we all learn from it. I know in a lot of these cases, I think I've learned more about Bigfoot and its behaviors from listening to the Sasquatch Chronicles than I have from any number of other shows, because researchers can tell you how they look for a Bigfoot, but in many cases there's a lot of researchers out there that have never experienced that themselves. They are interested, they are motivated, and they are tenacious, and my hat goes off to them for dedicating all their blood, sweat, and tears to doing that work and looking for it. But it's the people that experience these things and have had these encounters that I think have some real gems in their discussion and discoveries. Oh, thank you. Weight of Balance. Great to see you. Guys, you keep me entertained daily. I love it. I can relate on too many levels. Well, thank you so much for that. That means a lot, brother. Thank you. Or ma'am, I don't know what you are. What is Way of Balance? But whatever you are, thank you so much for sending it in. That means the world. It'll help us a bunch. That's just phenomenal, fantastic. Bronco. Oh, Bronco did fist bump on his. I didn't see the chicken. I see it now though. But thank you guys so much. It really means the world. It helps us out a ton. So you guys are the spine of the Paranormal Portal for sure. Anyway, I forgot what the hell I was saying. But let's continue. This sighting is coming out of Nebraska. There's several of them in a row coming out of Nebraska. So I don't know if that's maybe where this site is located or not. But anyway, let's take a look. And it says, this is very hard for me to talk about, as it was absolutely terrifying experience. And I was taking a stroll next to a cornfield and heard a huge cracking noise. Well, I got curious and went to investigate, although I wish I never had now. I walked about 10 more rows down and then heard the noise again. And then right in front of me was this gigantic beast with brown hair, just hair and muscle. If I ever was skeptical about Bigfoot, I'm not now. He roared, and it sounded like this, and then wrote out, "Whoa, ho, ha, ha, ho, ho." I mean, that hardly does it justice, I'm sure. I turned and ran. It came after me and was like 3 feet behind me when I got to my truck. It jumped in the back, but I swerved, and thankfully it fell out. It was a most terrible experience. I'm sure. I don't know what to make of that, because typing out the roar just can't possibly duplicate that in any way. But that if that really did happen, then I'm really glad you made it out of there alive. I don't know, if they chase you like that, they're so close, but you have to know that as quick as they are reported to be, as strong and as agile in life, they could have overtaken this person at any time. There's been many reports out there of these things running side by side with, cars going 45 miles an hour, and SUVs and ATVs. People have been, chased by them, and a lot of people that witnessed them said, I never have seen something move that fast. Even just being on the ground and seeing one zipping through the forest. That apparently they move so quickly. So that if it was chasing somebody, it obviously didn't really want to catch them. It just really wanted to terrify them. So that's pretty intense. But whatever the situation is, I'm glad this person is okay. I don't mean to cast any aspersions or question the authenticity of that report. I wasn't there. I don't know, but. It's, I just find it kind of funny that they typed out, "Whoa, and they typed it out. It's like 25 characters long like that. So I guess it kind of looks like it was more like the siren sound that a lot of people report, but I don't know. It's hard to know for sure. So anyway, there's another one from Nebraska, and this is eastern Nebraska. It says that I'm still a little shaken up, to say the least. Was casually eating cornflakes in my apartment when I heard a little grrr, almost like a lion. And after hopping up and running to the window, I saw a bear-like figure which was full of brown hair and a lot of muscle, and it seemed to want something. And it was prowling around the courtyard, so I... This has got to be a joke. It says, so I gave him a box of cornflakes, and he was so happy. He ran away. No. This is so stupid. He gave him a box of cornflakes and he ran away. There's no way that's a real story. That's funny, though. I got to admit, that had me suckered in. Oh, that's hilarious. I don't mind people being a little cheeky on these sites. Every once in a while, it's kind of fun, but it's kind of like reading those reviews on Amazon and stuff where people are just make these hilarious comments about their reviews of the product and how it went wrong for them, and it is hilarious. So I'm not like one of those people to get offended by this. Here's another one from Nebraska, and I have no idea what I'm getting into here, ladies and gentlemen. So we're in this journey together. Gave him a box of cornflakes, and he was so happy. That just kills me. That's so funny. Oh man. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, I guess you can't expect everybody to take this stuff real seriously. But anyway, let's see what this one says. I gotta focus now. I'm just all punchy now from cornflakes. I had just come out of the grocery store when I saw this huge shadow around the corner. I had no idea what it was, but I heard a ton of scary ape-like noises. I ran away and turned back, and when I was about 50 meters away, when I saw it, a Bigfoot with two little Bigfoots. I am still shaking and just thankful I got to my car in time. I don't know. There could be a real account. I would be really surprised that it would be anywhere near a grocery store, though. I mean, you hear stories of them being around suburban areas and stuff, and I guess I believe it because these are beings that are scratching a life out of whatever they can find, and as wasteful and as much stuff as we discard regularly, that could feed tons of animals. I guess it wouldn't surprise me, but wow, I don't know. That's pretty crazy. Here's another one from Nebraska. It says, I was walking along a creek and heard a rustling, so I investigated, and I came across a big 8-foot tall, hairy creature. We stared at each other for about 15 seconds, and then he ran away, letting out a huge woo. I lost sight of him after he ran away, but he was very faster than any human I have ever seen. It says he was very faster than any human I have ever seen. Wow. Well, I guess that's what I've heard too, is that they're incredibly quick, like really quick. I've heard of them ambushing deer. And if you ever witness deer, ladies and gentlemen, they got like cat-like reflexes. They really do. Like a deer can, like from a standing position, just launch itself 10 feet in the air, as it's avoiding things, and then can just run away in a heartbeat. And so, but I've heard so many stories of like just a Bigfoot flying out and just grabbing a deer and crunching it and walking away. So I guess they're plenty quick. So this one is coming from Ohio, which doesn't surprise me a lot because everything seems to come from Ohio. And it says, the timing of the encounter may be incorrect, as I was just a child when this happened. I also reported it to the BFRO as a long time ago. So here goes. Oh, my Lord. My son always has to be loud. Let me see what I can do about that. I do apologize. Well, he's quiet now, so I'll continue. So this was submitted to the BFRO a long time ago. So here goes. I grew up in the country in New Cornerstown, New Cornerstown, okay, out on Gravel Lick Road. And this is the 90s. My sister and I went to pick up some tomatoes from Grandma's garden. As we were picking, we heard this growling. And I was really, really scared, and we both looked at each other and ran inside. I was maybe 8 or 10 years old, but I'll never forget it. Now, mind you that we were not no city kids. It says not no city kids. We'd been raised out there and had many dogs also. Whatever we heard that day was not one of our dogs. Second, my aunt heard the same growling while she was down over the hill looking for her dog. Third, our cats used to climb up onto the tree or up onto the top of our trailer in the middle of the night. The dogs would be silent, and I'm a very strong believer in Bigfoot due to all the crazy things that happened to me when I was a child. Yeah, I suppose. I don't know. I've heard that they'll come in and raid gardens, but it didn't sound like that was the situation. It just sounded like it was close. But if they had dogs and cats, that's probably a pretty easy snack for a Bigfoot. They don't seem to be too bothered by either of them. I think, if anything, dogs probably piss them off more than anything because the dogs do hear them coming and can alert to their presence, whereas, cats just seem to be more aloof about it unless they're being hunted. But anyway, this one is Florida, actually, near Wimona, Wimauma, Florida. So I was driving home from work at 2:30 a.m. and come around a bend, and I almost hit something standing upright on the edge of the road. Now, my truck stands about 6.5 feet, and I could see the head out of my sunroof. It was at least 2 feet taller than my truck. It was very dark in color, almost black, very hard to see. It happened so fast, by the time I slowed down and looked in my mirror, it was gone, and if I had to guess, it was about 2 inches from my passenger mirror. Wow. So that's a big, big animal, or a big being. I don't think I can call them an animal, but they're very, very big. So that's creepy. This one is Lindley Valley Park in Nanaimo, BC. It says, walking off trail inside the valley, my friend and I went into a small pond area where lots of trees surrounding us. It was quiet. It was quite away from any trail in the park, and admiring the beauty was cut short by an eerie quietness. The birds quit chirping, and all of a sudden we saw a huge boulder-type rock get thrown into the middle of the pond. There was nothing that could have thrown that. We ran back to the trail fast. I will never forget the feeling of being watched, followed by the silence. And then silence broke with some splash of the boulder hitting the water, and it was more than enough for us to believe that a bipedal cryptid creature could very well inhabit this beautiful island. I will never hike alone or off trail again. It's just not safe out there. Yeah, it does seem to be that, for the most part, it seems that the Bigfoot and the dogmen and such seem to try to stay away from the normal trails where people will go. However, if you go off trail, then, it's kind of fair game at that point, I guess. But it doesn't seem like they go out of their way to make their presence known on those trails for the most part. It's just when people get to areas that they don't normally encounter them, that things can get a little more sketchy. But, that's me just, I guess, just throwing an idea at it. But I'm just thinking through all the stories I've heard, and most of them in park areas seem to be when people are hiking off of the main trail. It's not when they're on the normal routes that are all mapped out and have all the signs and benches along them. You don't see a lot of reports coming from those kind of things. Not that they never happen, but I just think you're probably going to be okay if you stick to the beaten path. So, what the hell? It says black and white gorilla man spotted in park. My mom and nephew were walking into the park through the Burker Station Walk neighborhood, and they stopped at a little pond on the main road of the neighborhood to look at a turtle. And when they looked up, they saw what she said was a 6-foot hairy gorilla man, and it was mostly black with white. And when my mom said my nephew's name, it took off running. She said it was so heavy and big you could hear its steps when it ran. Huh. Well, there you go. That's pretty creepy. I don't know, 6 feet. That could be a person. It doesn't necessarily, doesn't necessarily have to be a cryptid, but it could be a person. I'm going to skip that one. Where are we at with the time? It's hard to tell. When I'm doing these alone, time just kind of blends. This one's a real quick one. It says, I was driving and found a large beast looked like an ape on the side of the road. And it was very hairy. And when we saw it, it ran so quickly we really couldn't see where it ran off to. It may have been a large bear, but it looked way too gruff and beast-like to be a bear. I don't know where that came from. It just says along Route 5. So, I don't know. Here's another one. It says, oh, geez. This one sounds lovely. This is coming from Lee County, Virginia. It says, well, this story happened in 1997. A man named Walter was deer hunting late November when his family noticed that he had not come home. Walter was 48 years old and lived in Lee County all his life. We got a call that he was missing and asked if we would go help look for him, and it was getting late and the sun had already set. We know that he had a good spot where he hunted on his land, and we went there first. Well, there were signs that he had been there. Later on that night, when we returned back to his house, we saw him sitting at the edge of his field, staring into space. His clothes was shredded off of him. He was white as a ghost. I think there's a link then that I have to open to get the rest of that. So I'm going to actually read that whole thing. He was white as a ghost. We got him home. He started telling us what had happened. He said that he reached his hunting spot and entered his deer stand or his deer blind. When he said he sat there for about an hour, when he heard something coming through the woods, excited, he thought a deer. Well, 25 to 30 minutes went by, and the deer came up about 20 to 30 yards just out of the thick woods where he was hunting and took the shot. The deer took off up the hill where he was sitting, and 15 minutes he took off after it, trailing the blood from the deer. He walked on to a logging road where he saw what looked like a man ripping the deer apart. In his anger, he yelled at the man and he said when it stood up, he said it stood up 8 feet tall and had very thick hair from head to toe. They made eye contact for a few seconds and it let out a scream. He said that it sounded like a woman, but so loud it hurt his ears. He then said that he went to his knees with his hands over his ears, looking at the ground when he felt his body get slung back into the woods and his head hitting something hard, and he was out. When he awoke, he was sitting in the field, not knowing how he got back to the edge of the woods. He went back the next day and seen blood on the ground where he said the deer was laying, and the ground was too hard for prints. Wow. So, man, he just got folded up. Just the sound alone, ladies and gentlemen, folded this guy up. And he went down to his knees, and then suddenly, that thing must have come over and just flung him into the woods, and he hit his head and went out. Unconscious. That is creepy. That is really creepy. Let me look at the time here. We got 3 minutes, so yeah, we're doing all right. But that's a really intense story. And this is from Lee County, Virginia. In 1997, it looks like the date was October 30th, 1997. So right around this time of year, and I guess that makes sense. It's deer hunting season out there, so or going to be. I don't deer hunt, so I don't know exactly when it is. But he shot the deer, followed the blood trail, ended up going through the woods and out onto a logging road, and looked down the road, and there was the deer with this guy leaning over it, ripping it apart. And then he yelled, and the thing turned around, stood up, and it was like 8 feet tall. It screamed so loudly and intensely that it hurt his ears. The dude went down to his knees, covering his ears, looking at the ground, and the next thing you know, he's being flung into the woods, and he hit his head and got knocked unconscious. So that is incredibly intense. And not only was he knocked unconscious, but he's carried back to the edge of the deer or of the woods where he was hunting. So right back on his property. Wow, that is intense, ladies and gentlemen. That dude's lucky he's alive. Whoa. He must have a hell of a skull. That's really wild. Yeah, so anyway, that's a crazy story. I don't know. I mean, I definitely believe it. I believe it completely. There's a researcher's report on that, but I'm not going to worry about that because, I just go by the actual stories. I don't know. This one doesn't have a picture, so that's not going to do us any good. It says 8-foot hairy thing seen in Florida. This is real quick. I was riding my dirt bike when I got off for a break and sat down and heard stick breaking, and it was getting closer. So I ran and turned and saw an 8-foot hair thing. Hair thing is what it says. And it was moving fast, so I hop on my bike and rode off. Yeah, that'd freak you out. Homer, Alaska. Okay, so it was more of a Yeti, but maybe Yeti is just a Sasquatch adopted to the cold. I don't know. So me and my 3-year-old child were in the woods building a snowman when we heard some strange sounds. I brought him with me deeper into the woods and saw a big white ape creature eating a raw deer. It startled my son and he started to cry. The Yeti turned around angry as he had blood in his mouth. He ripped my son out of my hands and stomped off through the woods. He was too fast to catch and my son has been missing since. Please, I want him back. I was able to snap a picture. What the hell? I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what to make of that one, but we're going to go to break. We'll be right back with more of the Paranormal Portal.
To play their games, everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, dripping scars across my heart. Raging anger pours inside me as their lies keep falling apart.
those she's with, they're attracted to the one thing about her that is different from themselves. Her life force, it is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are of fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Welcome back, everybody, to hour number 2 of our Friday show, and good to see more of you piling into the portal. It's great to see everybody. Thank you for being here. Just before break, we went through one story, and I've been thinking about this one, and I don't know. I guess it doesn't seem like it's probably real. If somebody would really have experienced that, the one place that they probably wouldn't be posting that is on a Bigfoot site. You know. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me to post hey, my child was stolen out of my arms. I miss my child. Can you help? Kind of thing. That doesn't make sense to me. It's a horrible thing to joke about, though. I mean, it's just a horrible thing to make into a comedy. It's not funny that somebody lost their child. There are plenty of stories out there that are absolutely legitimate, I believe, about that very thing, and for someone to make light of it, if it is indeed true, then I certainly I can't imagine the anguish that would be. I just couldn't possibly get my head there to even try to understand it. But I just don't think that this is legitimate. It apparently was. I don't know. You'd think there would be some kind of corroborating reportage going on with this claim to. To authenticate such a claim. But I don't see that, it's Homer, Alaska, so I don't know what kind of law enforcement they have up there. I know law enforcement is stretched pretty thin up in the Alaska, especially in Homer, which is way up there, but I don't know. And here's the other thing. A Yeti is not white. I don't know why the reference was because it was white, it was a Yeti. Yetis are actually dark colored as well. It's just the terminology, although our popular culture has made Yetis into these snowmen. They're white so they can blend in, but that's really not the case. Yetis are just as dark and colorful as all the others. Yowies and Sasquatch, Bigfoot, skunk ape, grassmen, they're all dark colored. There are reports of white ones being out there, but it's more like an albino kind of situation, and not the color of this species of hominid. For as I understand it, the Yetis are just the same colors as all these other reports all around the world. So there is the odd white one that pops up in Pennsylvania. There's a real famous white Bigfoot reported, and there's a video that seems to corroborate it that shows a guy with a flashlight going through the woods, and he pans over, and in the crook of a tree, there's a white, ape-like, man-like thing. Now, a lot of people say, oh, that's a suit. It's just a hoax. But if you slow it down and look at it frame by frame, you can see the eyes actually squint from the flashlight. The eyebrows are interacting as well. If somebody went to that much trouble to create a hoax video, they did a hell of a job at it, and they probably are not in the right business because they should be doing special effects for Hollywood. If that is indeed a fabrication of a suit and stuff, they have a lot of skill. But it's widely believed to be authentic, and it's never been debunked that I'm aware of. So there are the odd white Sasquatch that come up, but it is a common misconception that Yetis are always white, and I suppose it's because they're referred to as the abominable snowman, Well, because what are they? They're supposed to blend in with the snow, I guess. But a lot of the Yetis actually don't live and persist in the really high elevations. They're oftentimes found in these more wooded lower lands than up on the peaks of the Himalayas. So anyway, just some thoughts that I have about it. And if anybody knows more about that that'd like to share, then please, by all means, call in and help educate us. But that's just as I understand it. So I don't know. I don't want to say that it can't be possible, but it's just, I don't know. That story is so much lacking of any kind of corroborative evidence or substantiation that I just don't believe it. And maybe I don't want to believe it too. That could be it as well. But and that's for sure the truth. I don't want to believe some father had to watch his child get ripped out of his arms and taken away. That would be nothing short of a nightmare. So anyway, let's continue on and get to some more of these. I think most of them are very, very short and not really very in depth, but I think they do illustrate some really wild things going on. And I love hearing new stories about Sasquatch and Bigfoot and dogmen and the works. I like some cryptids. So let's see what this one is. So my friend and I were snowshoeing in Riding Mountain National Park, and this is up in Manitoba, I guess. Lake Audie, Manitoba, Canada. It was a day-long adventure, and we had been trekking for a couple of hours at that point, and I stopped to grab my water out of my hiking pack and caught a rather large figure in the corner of my eye. I turned to try and decipher the creature in my vision, but what I saw was unlike anything I had ever seen before. It was tall, covered in thick, dark brown fur. It stood upright and had no features of any animal in the area. No tail, no ears, and it made a deafening scream. As it turned to face me and took off back into the thick wilderness. A curious wildlife observer, had little fear in me as I knew I needed to follow it to satisfy my curiosity. I ripped off my snowshoes and took after it, and my friend yelling in the background, and I ran a few hundred feet and caught the trail of this mystery creature, the feet below mine imprinted into the ground by what seemed to be an extremely heavy object, were double the size of my own. I reached a clearing when I heard a loud growling and banging in the trees a couple 100 yards in front of me. I decided at that moment that whatever it was did not want to see me, and to this day, I still believe that what I encountered in the woods that day was the elusive Bigfoot. Yeah, it sounds like it. Here's one coming from Geraldine, Alabama. It says, I was clearing the brush in the woods behind my house on a tractor when I looked up, and there was about an 8.5 foot or 9 foot hairy ape creature. The fur color was dark brown, and there was a rock structure in the woods that I believe this Bigfoot could be taking shelter under. There are plenty of rabbits, coyotes, deer, and bobcats that the Bigfoot could be feeding on. I would say that that's probably possible. It doesn't seem to be any distinction of where they're going to show up, ladies and gentlemen. Again, the only state in the United States, the only state that has no reports of Bigfoot is Hawaii. So they seem to be everywhere, and there's no rhyme or reason when they're going to show up. And it can be in deserts, it can be in the mountains, it can be in forests, it can be in swamps. There's just every habitat these things thrive in or are able to subsist with no problem. I just find that incredibly amazing, really. Every other type of animal in our world seems to prefer one environment over the other and won't be seen in many of the other areas, but these things are sighted everywhere. So is that a sign of being intelligent enough to cope or what? I don't know. I do believe that they're probably pretty smart, though. They're smart enough to have eluded people pretty consistently, except for a few here and there's, but I don't know how many of them are out there. You hear a lot of different numbers. Are there, tens of thousands? Are there just thousands spread out? I don't know. But it seems to me that either there's more of them out there than there were, or there are just a lot of people with trying to get on the boat onto the boat, so to speak. Like, oh, I've seen one too, and that does happen. Unfortunately, that happens maybe a lot, but there are some really credible sightings coming from everywhere on these things. And so it does seem that they are pretty spread out all over the place. Again, the phone number for the show is 720-923-0500 if you've got something of your own that you want to share. And it doesn't have to be about Bigfoot. It doesn't have to be about ghosts, but it should be paranormal. That's kind of the theme of the show. So we love to hear the paranormal stuff. If you're in the Halloween spirit and you've got an old story of yours from some time in your life that you'd like to share, I'd love to hear it. So bring them on. Oh, this one does have a picture. My God, that's a huge print. Okay, I think I can put this up on the screen as well after I read it. This one is, I was drying off on our back porch and getting out of the pool, and I heard 2 loud knocks, and I looked over at the fence thinking that my neighbors were just trying to get my attention. A moment later, in the corner of my eye, I see a creature about 7.5 feet tall growling at me. I get a better look at it and realize that I'm about 20 feet away from it. I get worried and run back inside, and I take a glance back while running inside and see it sprinting into the woods at about a 6-foot glide. My neighbor later investigates and finds huge footprints. The description is muscular, mannish, furry, blackish brown hair, and low growls. Now there is a picture here, so I'm going to actually drag this over and show you guys this picture, because this is a hell of a potential print. I mean, it just gives you an idea of the size of these things when they are sighted. And there you go. Or no. Oh, you're not working now, huh? There it goes. It finally worked. What the hell is going on with my pewter, huh? So that is the man's foot. I don't know. I don't know what an average man boot size is. Maybe size 11, maybe 12. But if you look at the size of this print, it is enormous. The interesting thing, though, I don't know what kind of ground they're walking in here, but that does. The problem with this picture is that it looks suspiciously just like an imprint. There doesn't seem to be anything in this photo that would show motion. Now, generally, when you're looking at a Bigfoot print, and I'm no expert, but again, I'm an enthusiast, so this is what I've picked up about Bigfoot prints. So this appears to be a very flat impression, just by first blush here. This is just seeing it for the first time. Now, what I would normally expect to see would be some push-off point. So generally in these prints, what you see is, in Bigfoot feet, like our feet hinges on the ball of the feet way towards the front, and we have another hinge on our ankle, of course. Well, the Bigfoot have an ankle hinge, but they have what's called a mid-tarsal hinge. Mid-tarsal, the tarsal bones make up the foot before the metatarsals on the toes. Well, the mid-tarsal hinge would be right about here, and what you generally see in a walking Bigfoot print is, a deep heel, and then you'll see a mound of stuff right in the middle here, and then a really solid push-off point, and that would indicate that mid-tarsal hinge flexing as it's walking and pushing dirt back towards the center of that imprint. This really, it looks like a cookie cutter kind of imprint where it's just like smashed down. It may have just stood there. This may be a place where it just stood and left an imprint and didn't really have the motion. So I'm not saying that it can't be legitimate, but those are definitely things to look for. If you think you're finding a print, is look for a pile of stuff in the middle showing where it's, landing on the heel or in that area and then pushing off of the toe back to the, well past the ball of the foot area. So ours flex at the ball of the foot area, but theirs flexes back here. So it pushes stuff back into like the center, and you get this raised thing. And a lot of people interpret that as an arch, but as I understand it, they don't really have an arch in their foot. It's just that debris pile is from that mid-tarsal hinge pushing off and debris getting pushed up in the print. So just food for thought. I don't know how many of you are planning on going out looking for prints or not, but I'm just throwing it out there. That one to me looks really, really pressed down, almost like what I would expect a cutout to look. But I could be absolutely wrong, and I don't mean to disparage or anybody's character. That's not what I'm after here. So, what made you an enthusiast? Rick asks Brent, "What made you an enthusiast?" Rick, what made me an enthusiast, and it's not only of the Bigfoot, of everything. It's just that I guess I don't know. For me, I still wanted to know that there was mystery and discovery left in the world. The idea that well, game's over. We got this all mapped out, so just go to work and pay your taxes. That's the best it's going to be. We already got all that stuff figured out. Turn on the Discovery Channel if you want to learn about it, but otherwise get busy. It seems that that life is just so mundane without this magic and mystery that still exists in the world, that it's kind of sterile and uninspiring. To me, it's exciting to still have a world that has mysteries and it still has discoveries and there's still things we can learn and figure out. And if we got it all figured out, that just means we just got to learn what everybody else already learned. It seems like, I don't know, the world in those eyes to me just seems incredibly boring. Plus, I don't think we have it figured out. I think that, our hubris would suggest that we do. But the fact that we can go out and still try to learn about these weird things that a lot of people don't spend time on, like the Bigfoot and like the cryptids and other dogman Bigfoot, etc., or the ghosts and the spirits, or the fact that maybe there's people traveling, through the cosmos to come here and check us out. I mean, that to me is exciting. So that's what really spurned me at an early age to try to learn about this stuff and to try to see if there was something to all of this. Also, having experiences, I guess, really was a bunch of affirmation to me. Like I've experienced hauntings. I've experienced a growling behind me that I'm pretty sure was a Bigfoot. I didn't see it, so I can't say, hey, I saw a Bigfoot, or I can't say for sure I had a Bigfoot experience, but I experienced something that didn't make any sense with with our local area. A deep, low growling that terrified the hell out of me. And I've seen a UFO. And so I think that either, I just really either stupid lucky or, those are just part of the events of my life to keep these dreaming alive. I don't know. Whatever reason, I've had these experiences, and I think it's absolutely cool. Maybe all these experiences were leading me to start a show called The Paranormal Portal. I don't know. If you believe in destiny or that your life is predestined, maybe that's why I had to, have this enthusiastic approach to the paranormal so that I would start a show. I don't know. Not that it matters in the grand scheme of things, but it does to me. So that's, in a nutshell, that's my my thoughts about why I'm such an enthusiast about this stuff, because I love the idea that the world isn't all figured out and that we still have stuff to learn. Because I don't think that the paranormal is like where things go sideways. I don't think it's when there's something wrong or glitchy. I think that what these things are showing us is an incredibly dynamic reality that we live in, and these are the breadcrumbs to lead us to better, more complete understanding of the world we're living in. So I think that these things happen for a lot of different reasons, and maybe one of them is just to prove that we have a lot more to learn. So I don't know. I hope that makes sense, but thanks for the question. I really appreciate that, Rick. If any of you have questions, please let me know. But I got a call here, and this is from area code 228. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hello. You're on the air.
Well, hello. Good evening. Brent, I'm
Yes.
going to share.
Okay.
It's a Bigfoot encounter.
Oh, please.
It's face to face, eye to eye. It's
Ooh.
mine, and I'm going to share it. It's not easy to tell.
Okay.
I was a teenager. My brothers had been playing in the woods, and of course, brothers don't like little sisters to go into where they've been playing into the woods.
Mm-hmm.
It was a forked trail. It had a main trail that went in and a forked trail.
Okay.
The right fork went off to a canal that was full of loggerhead turtles and, copperheads and moccasins,
Mm-hmm.
and a nice tree to sit on. and the left fork went down into a boggy part of the wood. Now, unlike most encounters that are deep, deep in the wood, this was a patch of woods in between an apartment area and a subdivision to the north,
Mm-hmm.
a subdivision to the west, and a main city road to the south,
Okay.
and the apartment area was to the east. Well, I walked out into the woods. I took the left fork down. Now, this patch of woods, it wasn't very big. And yes, you could hear airplanes go over by a nearby airport. There was a police station, a couple miles off, and fire trucks. I mean, it had steady sound.
Mm-hmm.
You could hear the city while you were in that little bitty patch of woods. And so I walked down the left trail, which wasn't too far. The main trail went in, left trail forked off to the southwest. And there was a platform. It was a tree stand, impromptu, just basically a piece of plywood, nailed up in the trees.
Mm-hmm.
And I climbed the pegwood ladder up the tree, and I sat on top of the platform. And I was a teenager, and of course I was smoking cigarettes. And I decided to smoke a cigarette and sit on top of that tree platform.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's kind of paranormal in that the whole world in front of me, I was facing west, and the world in front of me waved like a mirage. I wasn't passing out. I know what that is.
Okay.
But it literally, the whole, where I was looking off to the west in the woods, leaves were falling out of the trees. It was kind of cool out. It was fall. And the world literally waved like a mirage in front of me. And all of a sudden, I was knocked clear off that tree platform, landed on my derriere, and hit my head hard on the ground.
Oh.
I didn't see what hit me. I didn't see anything hit me. I had not heard anything in the woods at that time. It was still, the wind was blowing, but I didn't pass out. I was seeing stars when I hit the ground and come up off the ground. I went home.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty stunned.
Yeah.
And the very night after that, I decided, well, my mother worked nights, my brothers were off running around, and I decided I was going to, can y'all hear me okay?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you good.
Well, good. I'm on a cell phone, and I decided I was going to go back into the woods that night, and so I took the right fork, because I was kind of curious as to what knocked me off that platform the day before.
Mm-hmm.
So I go down the right fork of the trail, and it dead ends to basically a bayou canal, and there's a nice oak tree that had a branch low to the ground, and you could kick back on it and put your feet up on it, and the moon was out, and so, I had some good light. I decided to smoke a cigarette, was smoking Marlboros,
Uh-huh.
and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I start hearing branches off down where the tree platform was, down the other fork. And I start hearing branches pop. Spow!
Wow.
And I mean, they were branches at least 3 to 5 inches around that I'm hearing pop.
Oh, man.
All right, the closer it kind of got, it seemed like, I don't know, I was a kid, I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
But I kept hearing they were coming up that fork from down in the little boggy area I was in the day before. And I'm sitting there on the tree, and I hear that branch pop, and I don't know what it is. And I mean, it was a loud one. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay. I was in a strategic position as to if I ran out to the main fork, whatever it was, as big as it was popping, them branches coming, I was very, very frightened.
Yeah, I bet.
And I would hear branches kept popping, okay?
Mm-hmm.
About every few seconds. Pow! And I would hear it just rip, okay? And then I started hearing, pow! and pow, as it was coming through the wood.
Oh, jeez. Oh, man.
And I'm sitting there, by then I'm up off that tree and I'm standing up. And I'm sitting there knowing, okay, well, I got a canal full of water moccasins and loggerhead turtles behind me. To my west, all I had was big briar patches, the big brown kind with the thorns on them, and it had a ridge hill, and that was to the west. I might can make it out through there to the nearest subdivision, but I dang well knew that I wasn't going to run out to the main
Hold that thought, if you will,
main
please.
headway of the trail.
Okay, we got to go to a break,
And
but just hold that thought if you would, because we're at the break right now, and I don't want to interrupt where you're going with this. So just stay on the line, and we'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our break quick. We'll be right back with the rest of this story. Amazing story, so don't go away. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the last half hour of our show tonight. It's just been a really great night, and thank you all for being here. And we unfortunately lost the clock. We lost track of the clock, and we're in the midst of this amazing story. So I'm so sorry to have interrupted you, but we just didn't have any choice there due to the network break. But so you're on this tree, hearing this crashing coming towards you. What happened next?
Yes, Brent, thank you. I might have needed to just take the time to take a breath because I really kind of relive it when I tell it.
Yeah, I bet.
And so the commercial break might have been a really great thing.
Oh, good.
The fork of the trail, my choice, okay, wasn't very good. I was surrounded by a bayou canal, that was full of snakes and loggerhead turtles to get to the other subdivision to the north, and there were some woods to get there, after the canal. That wasn't a good choice. To my west, it was full of briars and a hill, and we're talking those big, brown, thick briars, with the big thorns on them. And I knew that I couldn't run out to the main fork,
Right.
to get out, to go back to the apartment area, because whatever was coming through the woods, popping those branches, and yes, Brent, I was being graphic because I would hear a branch pop, and I would hear, ah!
Yeah.
And then another branch pop, and ah! And oh my God, I was a frightened little girl. I was a teenager, and I had enough sense to douse my cigarette. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I should have kept one lit and chain smoked. I don't know, but I was very, very frightened. I felt very, very trapped.
Yeah, I bet.
I knew that it was going to be hell, and so about the time it got to the fork of the trail, it got silent, and that scared me even worse. And I was standing up, knowing that I was fixing to have to run somewhere because, it wasn't too far from the middle of the trail, okay,
Mm-hmm.
to come up the fork I was on by the canal. And no sooner than it got silent, within the blink of an eye, he was 8 foot standing in front of me, red glowing eyes. And I don't know if anybody's ever seen a mandrix before, but they have these markings on their face. All right, well, these weren't colored markings. These were actually grooves on either side of the cheek of his face. And his eyes glowed red. And he was at least 8 foot tall. And yes, he was a big mofo. I will say that. And about that time, I split. I headed west through the briar patch, and it was a good quarter of a mile run to the nearest subdivision. And I was flying on top of air, and I sure wasn't looking back.
Oof.
And there wasn't no time to scream. I knew what I had seen.
Sure.
And I got to the subdivision. I walked up through its main road to another city main road, and down that main road, and then down the road that goes to the apartment area. So in other words, it took me almost an hour to get home.
Sure.
From a trail it only took 10 minutes to walk into from the apartment area. And I bolt into the apartment, and my brothers are home, and I'm bloody. The moon had been out that night. It was shining down, and when I saw him, okay, I clearly saw his eyes. I clearly saw his thighs. I didn't give any. I know he could have reached right on out and got me, no problem. But I was flying on top of air, and I get to the apartment area, and I'm in shock.
Yeah, I'll
Because
bet.
all the way through going down the main road of the apartment area, the little entrance way to it, I'm looking off to the woods, to my south. There's a little bitty patch of woods to my south, and I can still feel him. And I wouldn't look over there, and I get into the apartment, and I make it to the couch. And I'm bloody. I mean, I'm bloody.
Yeah.
And I had scratches all over me. I had briars all in my hair. I mean, I was a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on the couch, and my brother, the nice one, I have a mean one, but, the nice one is saying, what in the hell happened to you, and where have you been?
Yeah.
And all I could do was, I could not get the words out of my mouth. It took almost an hour. I was in shock. And when I finally got the words out of my mouth that I saw Bigfoot, they laughed at me so hard, told me, wanted to know what kind of had I been smoking any weed that night. They wanted to know what I was on, had I been drinking, and they were really just laughing at me hard.
Oh, no.
Okay, and I knew what I saw,
Yeah.
and I was scared to death. And so it was terrible that they wouldn't believe me.
Yeah.
And then years later, matter of fact, this year I talked to one of my brothers, and I said, y'all shouldn't have made fun of me when I told you I saw Bigfoot. And he said, well, since then, around the campfire, when we're sitting out here, they live where you have to pipe sunlight in. And he said, I'll never laugh at you again for something like that. He said, because we've heard all kinds of things when we were sitting by the fire up here at night. And he said, frankly, we just go in when it starts getting dusk around here, little sister, because there's a little bit too much out in these woods. And they've hunted those woods most of their lives. But, Brent, that is my eye-to-eye encounter. It's off my chest. I was saving it for Bigfoot Odyssey, but he's kind of booked for about 2 months. And while you were telling horrifying stories,
Sure.
sometimes I'm reliving my own encounter that seems to happen to me. That it's that fresh in my mind. It just triggers it. It's not that it's going to disturb me or keep me from sleeping at night. And then later in life, I went out to a local river. I used to play along the river banks and run up and down them. But, I used to go camping alone as an adult because I just really liked the woods. And
Sure.
It's amazing that, even though I had that encounter when I was a teenager, we're resilient when we're teenagers.
Yeah.
And, we just live life anyway. Well, as an adult, I would go out to a local river. And, I had a key. It was a place where hunters paid for, leases in there and whatnot. But it was the time of the year when nobody was out there.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady that owned the land locked me in. She locked the gate in before she left. And I was the only one out there. And I would camp by the road, by the river, that was the same. But I thought, no, I'm hiking on down the river. I'm going to camp down by the rapids. And so I camped up on a high bank of the river.
Mm-hmm.
And, I really wasn't thinking. And I didn't really care because I liked the peacefulness of the woods still. And I went to sleep. I didn't build a fire that night. And there was a swampy marsh about 500 feet, to the north of me where I was camped. And the riverbank, I was high on a riverbank, and the river wasn't but about 12 feet from me. And it was the time of year where it was low. It was just a nice gurgling stream, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to sleep. And in the middle of the night, I felt something thump my tent.
Oh, no.
Woke up, and all of a sudden, I seen something poke my tent.
Oh.
And I mean, it poked it hard. And I turned my flashlight on, and I decided to chain smoke. And I chain smoked all night till daylight. Couldn't hear anything. Brent, not a bullfrog, not the crickets. Could only hear the gurgling of the river. Didn't hear any branches pop, didn't hear anything. So I kind of was wondering, all right, well, I know what a Bigfoot is. I know what a Sasquatch looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there in my tent, and I'm chain smoking, got my flashlight, real glad the batteries were still working. And I sat there all night till daylight.
Wow. In the
And the
tent?
strange, and it was just dead silent. Now, when you're 500 feet from a marshy overflow bog from a river where it, floods, okay, and you're not hearing frogs, you're not hearing crickets, you're not hearing an occasional coyote,
Yeah.
okay, you're not hearing any howls. I mean, it was just dead silent, mortifying silence till daylight. And about daylight, of course, I peeked out of my tent finally, and I packed my tent up real quick, got my backpack and everything, and I hiked on out to get to my vehicle. And on the hike out, it was still dead silent. No birds chirping. It was just, I knew that something had sat close to me all night long.
That is so intense.
And I'm
Wow.
thinking, yeah. And, Brent, I've never been camping alone again after that.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea, though, not to.
But, I don't care who believes my eye-to-eye encounter or not. As you can tell, I got a little upset telling it. I got a little graphic with that heavy breathing.
Yeah.
I have a tendency to ask people, have you ever had a Bigfoot knock you off something with a force field? And I have a tendency of asking people, have you ever heard them heavy breathing through the woods? Because, if you've had an encounter, part of therapy is telling it.
Sure.
And it's good that people give an outlet for that.
Right.
But I've yet to come across anybody that tells me eye to eye or even by voice that they've been knocked off of something by a force field. There wasn't a mark on me, Brent, except for the knot on my head.
Yeah. Wow. It seems like, you're tuned to it for sure. I mean, you're just able to be a magnet, maybe, huh? Because your brothers had already been in those woods so long for so many times and never had any experience whatsoever. But I don't know.
Well, and here's what I relived, Brent, is the fact that it was in city limits.
Yeah.
There was a major airport not 5 miles away.
Right.
There was a fire station, a police station not more than a couple of miles away.
Sure.
There was city road traffic not more than, a quarter of a mile south.
That's
It
amazing.
was a little itty-bitty patch of woods stuck in the middle of the city with just a little bayou creek, running through it.
Right.
And, I've heard somebody tell me, in one encounter story that I heard recently, it was Carl Gautreaux, where he would actually film turtle shells, through the canals over there in Lafayette, because he's had encounters too. And I thought to myself, okay, well, as a little girl, I sure was sitting. Maybe I was just too close to his food.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, I have to ask you, had you ever heard of anybody having weird encounters prior to that in that area? Being that you lived right there, did you ever hear of anyone else?
Well, I was only 15. I was only 15 years old, Brent.
Sure.
No.
Okay.
No, I had read books and whatnot.
Sure.
Okay. I was an avid bookworm. And no, I had not.
That's amazing.
And my brother just laughed at me to no end because, I'm in the city limits.
Right.
I'm surrounded by civilization in a little bitty patch of wood. What it is with these encounters sometimes is people are going deep in the woods to find them.
Sure.
And I'm a person who knows, well, gee, I'm a person who knows, well, that, you don't have to go too far in the woods to maybe have an encounter.
Right. And the other thing is that it was close to a waterway, and many people believe that they travel by following waterways. So it makes perfect sense. And I think they're opportunists. So they, they perhaps could just live just fine in that little neck of woods because they had
Right, that
resources.
waterway ran from a main lake
Yep.
all the way through the town
Yeah.
and then all the way out to a very large bay
Mm-hmm.
that also runs out into the Gulf of Mexico.
Wow.
So
yeah.
yes, that they had a trail
Yep.
that went many, many miles.
Mm-hmm. And so they probably
You
can
know,
live
and
there,
that they could travel.
taking advantage of our wasteful nature and live just fine, without having to scratch a living out of some thick scrub somewhere out in the, in the middle of nowhere.
And Brent, I have never told my encounter live to anyone.
Oh.
And so those of you who are listening, if I was loud, and if the imitating, him breathing and coming through the woods and the branches was loud, I'm very sorry because it's still, even though it happened so long ago, it's still fresh in my mind.
Mm.
And I don't forget it. It's just not something you forget.
Sure.
I will never forget those red glowing eyes.
Oh, I can imagine. Wow.
Ever.
That, you did great. I mean, it was well done. Very compelling. And I'm just thrilled you're okay, obviously. But my God, I don't, at 15 years old to be confronted with something like that. Now I had a growling behind me, but I couldn't turn around. I just couldn't because I thought I was dying. I was dying any second. I didn't want to see what it looked like that was going to be killing me. But you were,
and I follow people's encounters and I listen intently because I have great compassion for what they endure.
Yeah.
And it's what gets me is a lot of the encounter stories that I've read or heard. I am noticing the Squatch have the advantage.
Yeah.
Usually you're in an area that it's hard to get out of, or it's a dead end.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have some natural barriers that are going to make it hard for you to run out of wherever you are.
Yeah.
I'm noticing the ones that are having eye-to-eye encounters are people that are basically trapped, and they have the alternative to go out the same way they came in.
Right.
And I sure knew I wasn't going out the same way I came in.
Well, and that was a good move. I mean, if you had, maybe you wouldn't be here calling into a live show so many years later. You just don't know. It's absolutely terrifying, but I think it's also amazing, and I think you must have been incredibly brave, but very, very incredible story.
I think I was just full of adrenaline.
Yeah. I'm sure that's for sure. I mean, you must have been pumped absolutely full for an adrenalized state.
Yeah, I mean, when I didn't look at him for very long before I was flying over the top of briars and branches, and oh yeah.
Wow. I guess you really find out what you're made of, though. That's when you really find out.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's fight or flight, and I sure knew it was going to be flight.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something I can relate to as well. It's like I knew whatever made that sound was well out of my fight range, that, there wasn't going to be a fight involved. The only option I had was to fly, try to get out of there. And we did, too. But I don't think that we were pursued at all either. I think what maybe happened in our case was that we just got too close. And didn't have any idea that anything was there to get close to, but it obviously wanted us away now, and we left. So.
Well, the day prior, sitting up in that tree stand, I wasn't bothering a soul.
Sure, right, yeah. But maybe.
And that night, sitting on my favorite tree that I used to go smoke cigarettes on, I didn't figure I was bothering anybody.
But you got to wonder, maybe they don't know we can't see them. Maybe they think that we see them as easily as they see us, because, even at night the footage, like the FLIR footage and stuff that's been captured, they're still doing the creepy approach thing, as if they're sure that we can see if they're not being stealthy. So I think maybe they're not understanding that we're not seeing them at all. And so maybe they get threatened, and that's why they do these more aggressive things, because they think that we're just onto them.
I think back and I think, I doused my cigarette thinking, well, maybe it wouldn't hone in on my location by my cigarette, the fire at the end of my cigarette,
Sure.
especially when I was hearing it come up through the woods, heading my way. And I didn't have enough sense in my head at 15 to take my shirt and pull it over the top of my eyes and look through my shirt, to douse the glare of my own eyes.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point.
Because truthfully, I wanted to become the tree at that moment.
Yeah. You wanted to blend right in. Yeah. No kidding. But wow.
Yeah.
What an amazing account. And thank you so much for sharing it. It's absolutely incredible.
I will just never forget how many branches I heard popping. I mean, I didn't count them, but he'd take a step, pop a branch. Whoa! I mean, I will never forget. I mean, I knew I was being, and I hear people talk about bluff charging. Okay, well, I was being bluff charged for quite some time.
Right.
I was hearing him bluff charging all the way up that trail.
Sure.
And so when he got silent all of a sudden, I was mortified.
Yeah.
Okay, because I couldn't hear his location. And what was paranormal about it is the fact that the moment he got silent, I didn't hear any branches pop. I didn't hear any footfall. I didn't hear him breathe anymore. He was all of a sudden in front of me. And we're talking, he was all of a sudden standing in front of me. Let's see, I'm looking at my kitchen floor, 8 to 10 foot in front of me.
Oh my God.
And so that meant that he traveled at least, at the very least, he traveled 50 feet soundless. That's
amazing.
Not a sound.
Yeah.
To be standing that close to me in front of me that fast.
That's incredible.
So, I mean, and I'm sitting here knowing what the woods look like, and there was no way. There was too many briars, too many branches, too much deadfall, too many crackling leaves. It was fall, magnolia trees, oak leaves, all the leaves were all over the woods. There was no way. That's what's so unexplainable.
Right.
For him to have traveled that fast.
Sure.
With not one sound.
Do you think maybe it was more than one, though?
Feet.
Is it possible that there was one?
Now, if they can jump about 50 feet in the air and land in front, no, he just magically appeared in front of me.
Wow, that's incredible.
And that's what's so weird about it. I have yet to hear anybody else talk about them that way. That it happened that way.
Sure. Well, I've heard.
And I didn't know enough to check the smell. I mean,
Right. Yeah, absolutely. But wow, I've heard the stories of them crashing through impossibly thick briars and stuff without even batting an eye, and then you hear the stories of them, making no sound. Like when we were interviewing Stephen Major, he was on a stakeout looking for them, and the next thing you know, he's got breathing in his ear. It's right behind him. He didn't hear it come up at all, and it was poking him in the shoulder and stuff, and then breathing in his ear. And he was absolutely petrified as well. So very, very wild stories, and I don't doubt it. They are definitely masters of their domain. But I just want to thank you so much for choosing to share that here. I'm absolutely honored.
Well, you were busy telling some very horrifying Bigfoot stories, and actually people getting attacked and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so that's what gave me the courage to just tell you.
Oh, well, thank you, milady. But we got about a minute left of the show, so I just thank you again. It's been always a pleasure to hear from you, Five Hazel. Thank you so much, and please call in again.
Well, God bless you all.
All right, my dear. Have a great night, and thanks again.
All right.
All right, good night.
Night.
All right, very cool, ladies and gentlemen. See, that's my favorite parts of the shows by far. I can sit and find things to talk to you guys about, but I'd rather have a discussion with you and hear your stories like that. So by all means, please call in. Don't worry about what I'm doing. I'll be happy to get on the phone with you and discuss ideas and discuss phenomena. That's great. It's always a pleasure to hear new things and new experiences. And every one of them is a new experience, even if it sounds like another one. You're going to explain it in some way that nobody's ever explained it before, at least that I've heard. So I love that stuff. But ladies and gentlemen, stick around for Paisley Wild coming up next on TFR iHeart. Tune in and TalkStream Live. She'll also be broadcasting on her YouTube channel, The Spaces Between. And she'll be coming up next. So it's something to continue your Friday night fun into the other worlds. But I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can, guys. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow night for more of the Paranormal Portal. Good night.